Ahoy from Prague, I'm paulcolto and that's Yojin. 5 years ago I moved to Prague in the Czech Republic, and last week I received a message from a viewer asking me all about the language barrier when you move to a new country. So today I'm going to try and address those questions for everyone who's thinking of moving to Prague and a little bit concerned about the language. So the first question I was asked was how much of the Czech language did I know before I moved here? And the answer to that is absolutely none. I think it's fair to say that 99% of people who move to this country to start a new life have little to no knowledge of the Czech language itself. And as Czech people readily admit, there's no real need for people outside the Czech Republic to learn Czech because it's only spoken here. But because Czech people know that, it means that in big cities, especially here in Prague, in all the places and situations where they might need someone to speak English, they employ people with a decent level of English. On my very first night in Prague, I went to a restaurant in the evening, and at the end of the meal, I asked the waiter what the Czech word was for thank you. He told me it's děkuji, and I wrote it down. And a couple of days later I went to an English bookshop and I bought a small Czech phrase book, and from that I taught myself hello, thank you, goodbye, please, I don't understand, and do you speak English? Because these are vital phrases obviously when you move to a new country. And as soon as I started using them, I noticed that I got much better service in different places, and Czechs were really appreciative that I'd made that effort to learn just a few words in their own language. And I really think it's kind of the least we can do as we are guests in their country. And the second question I was asked is how difficult is it to get around if you only speak English? In Prague especially, I think it's very easy, for the reason I kind of outlined before, that in all the places where they know they're going to need someone who can speak English with foreigners and tourists, they employ people who have a decent level of English. That means in Prague, the whole of the old town and most of the surrounding districts as well. A good basic rule is that anyone under the age of about 35 speaks to a good level, and that's because in 1989, after the Velvet Revolution, in schools they started to teach English instead of Russian. Most people over the age of 45 don't speak much, but it's not too much of a problem because you're not typically going to be speaking with people in that demographic. The great thing about language schools here is that if you work as an English teacher, most language schools will offer you free Czech lessons. And that's just a godsend because it will teach you those core phrases and elevate it just a little bit more. And again, the more you can connect with the language, I believe the more you can connect with the country, because the people will recognize it when you make that effort and show that you're not just here for one weekend to do what a lot of people do when they come here for one weekend, but you're here to explore and to connect and to understand and to really gain some knowledge about their country and their culture and their life. In those language lessons as well, you will also meet other people in the same situation as you, so you'll make new friends there. But something you do need to remember is that Czech is a supremely difficult language. I read somewhere that it's the second most difficult language to learn in the world. And it's hard, believe me. I've been studying on and off for about 4 or 5 years. And it's a beautiful language, don't get me wrong, but it's so different to Western language. This is a Slavic language and they're completely different beasts. There are some common words, and interesting fact, the Czechs have contributed to the English language the words robot and the word pistol. There you go. You have these key moments like when you're on a bus and an old woman starts to speak to you. And I remember when she asked me a couple of questions and I understood everyone, like how long have you been here? What do you do? And I could answer in Czech, and it was beautiful. For the rest of the day I was just walking on air because it is that connection to a new country and you don't feel so much like a stranger. So I really hope that information is useful if you're a little bit worried about the language barrier when you first come to Prague. So thanks very much for watching. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please click like, consider sharing it with anyone you think might be interested, and don't forget to subscribe. There's new videos every week on ESL teaching advice, international relocation advice, and lots more. So until next time, toot toot.